Well, hello. Welcome back to another installment of the Unwatched Pile, the show where we go into our collections, dust off them unwatched films. We finally get around to it. We watch them. We come in here to discuss, and then we go back into our collections and pick something else to pair it with, make a nice little double feature, snuggle up with your significant other, get on the couch, be like, let's stay up late. Let's watch a couple movies. Yeah,
Well,
let's do
for
it.
us
Yeah.
single people, we do
You-
not.
Snuggle up with your, what do you snuggle with?
The popcorn, clearly.
Oh, just food? I mean,
I
not
thought you were
like,
gonna reach
you don't
and
have like
grab.
a pillow that you really like to lay on? Like,
No, just my
okay.
lonely
All right,
self.
fine. Whatever. If you don't want to tell your dirty secrets, fine. That's fine. But we are back here on the Unwatched Pile. Usually we are going to be guestless. As you can see, we don't have a third Blu-ray on the screen for somebody to fill. It's because it's only going to be me and Andrew tonight. We had some scheduling conflicts come up, so we have to reschedule for somebody. But next week we will be back to the normal regular schedule, having a guest and stuff. But so tonight it's just me and Andrew. We got a couple unwatched movies and some pairings tonight, and then after that, we're going to do something with a little extra time that we have. Obsession is a big horror hit that's out in theaters right now. We're here on YouTube, and it's directed by a YouTuber. Somebody that got really popular on YouTube. What is his name? Curry. Or is it what's his name? Curry Baker?
No, you put me on the spot here.
I can't remember names of
yeah,
people.
I know. You should have prepped me for
You
this.
should know this. You're the film knowledge guy.
Is it Curry Baker? Isn't that
That's what I said. That's what I just said.
Oh, you did say that. See, I wasn't even paying attention.
It's something like that. But he I know he got really popular doing like comedy stuff on YouTube.
Curry Barker. Curry Barker.
Yes, I was close.
You were close.
So, and then and this has been a trend lately. It's something we could even talk about maybe a little bit. This trend of a lot of YouTubers becoming feature film directors, getting films out in theaters, whether it's Chris Stuckman, the new movie that just came out earlier this year with the submarine. What's that one? That's, God, see, I'm bringing up a bunch of stuff. I'm really killing you right now.
You're really, my brain is not.
I was not ready for this line of questioning.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting. I was expecting just to talk about Pale Rider and Clint Eastwood. Now you've got me.
Well, you know what? I saved something here that can really help us. I think a post I found on Instagram. So, Curry Baker for Obsession. You got Kane Parsons, who's got the Backrooms movie coming out.
Oh yes, I really want to see. That's coming out next week.
Exactly, and then we have the.
I have
Undertow is directed by Ian Tolson. I believe he's also a YouTuber, and then Mark Fistbot.
Yeah, Markiplier.
Mark Fistbot is the Iron Lung.
Iron Lung,
yes,
which was really good. That movie had a big time box office opening week. The directors of
Talk to Me.
Oh my goodness, the two recent horror films, which are also really really good. The one with Sally Hawkins from last year. Oh my goodness. See, this is why I don't.
It's okay. We don't have to get them all. We don't have to get them all. But
you gotta get them all like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all.
We don't have to Pokemon this shit. But it's becoming a trend, and it seems like we're having a new generation of filmmakers that are really popping out of that scene. It would be interesting to see them tackle other genres. Like me and Andrew have had, this might be a conversation for down the road, but like how the horror genre seems to be an entryway for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, that's interesting.
But
you mentioned that
the only entryway.
What's interesting is it seems to be either comedy or horror. Seem to be the two ones where people tend to kind of make the transition from short content, YouTube and stuff like that, to longer, more feature film content. And the movie I was thinking about is the movie Bring Her Back from last year. Then there was the previous film by those two directors, Danny Filippo and Michael Filippo. What's the movie? Talk to Me?
Yeah.
That was
the one with the hand thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one with the hand, you could get like a big old plastic replica hand that you could hang in your collection.
I believe it was
like that.
Imprint. Did Imprint put out an edition of that?
And I think another company did that as well. But there are. For example, people don't know this, but David F. Sandberg, who directed like a couple of Annabelle movies and 2 Shazam movies. He started off making YouTube videos. The movie Lights Out, I think the short for that was originally a
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, it was a short, yeah.
Great
YouTube
short.
Yeah.
It kind of stretched that premise a little too far for the movie, but that's where that all started. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Dan Trachtenberg was another one who did
and he's doing Predator movies all the time
Yeah,
now.
he did 10 Cloverfield Lane. He started off doing YouTube videos. Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham, who did an excellent coming of age movie. 8th Grade. It's the only movie he's made, but he started off doing
his Netflix movie that came out in the pandemic, we need a physical media of that.
Oh, yeah, the performance one that he did.
Which
was very good.
I loved that. Yeah.
That was excellent.
So back to what we're gonna talk about Obsession tonight. We're gonna give it a little bit of we'll give a non-spoiler review, just giving our like surface thoughts, and then we'll give you a warning, and then we're gonna get into some spoilers. And then after that, we're gonna give you some recommendations of other films that would maybe pair nicely with Obsession, or or if you really liked Obsession, it's some other films you might want to check out. So
yeah. So down to what we usually do here on the Unwatched pile. Which one of us is going to start off with our pick? I watched Pale Rider. Steven watched The Criminal, or also known as The Concrete Jungle. If you go onto IMDb, you look up The Concrete Jungle by Joseph Losey, that's what will pop up. But so which one of us is going to start off?
I usually when it's just me and you, I go first.
Okay.
Because it's a switch up. Usually we got a third person, and I'm always the last. So when it's just me and you, I'll go first.
All right, sounds good.
So yeah, The Concrete Jungle, or The Criminal, as it says on my Kino Lorber Blu-ray, stars Stanley Baker, another person with Baker. Baker was on the mind. That's why I called him Curry Baker. Stanley Baker. This is directed by Joseph Losey, who is a fascinating director. For the long, when I first started getting into his films, I thought he was a British director. He's not. He's an American director. But he did a lot of his movies in Great Britain, in the UK, because he got blacklisted. He's one of these blacklisted directors that got, kicked out because they didn't like his political stance, or where they thought he was politically. So he got blacklisted, and he went to the UK and made a bunch of great movies. And The Criminal was one of the ones he made over there. And stars Stanley Baker. And he is this criminal that is in and out of prison. And in the middle of this movie, he pulls a heist at a racetrack. And when they get away with the loot, he ends up hiding this loot away from everybody else. And so now when he's back in prison, the rest of his gang and other people that are corrupt are trying to find ways to get him out of prison, to then get to him to find out where the money is. So but though I think the premise sounds like it's potentially kind of like action packed, maybe even kind of a caper that's more on the lines of something like Ocean's 11. It's not. It is a very psychological heist caper movie. It's not a lot of action. Did you end up getting a chance to watch it?
I did watch it. I watched it last night.
Yeah.
And what Steven's saying is pretty accurate. It's way more of a drama. And it takes place a lot of the time inside of a prison and dealing with like prison politics, if you will.
Yeah.
Because there's people inside the prison who are making moves not only inside the prison but outside of the prison. A lot of organized crime stuff going on in this movie. This feels like a British neo-noir with gangster elements in it. And it's fascinating because it's kind of like what Steven said. There is a time spent outside of the prison, but it's not like that's where the heist happens. So the premise, like Steven says, like there's this guy played by Stanley Baker. His name Banyan. I think his last name is Banyan.
Yeah.
And he's basically spent 3 years in prison, and while he's in prison, he's been organizing this heist he's going to pull off at a racetrack. When he gets out, he pulls it off, and then he ends up getting double-crossed, and he ends up back in prison. But now people want their cut of the money. They want their money, and organized crime people that he's in cahoots with want their money. The people he planned the whole heist off with, they want their money. and it's all about him trying to play these prison politics and not, basically not get killed. He's
Yeah.
trying not, and he's also got other situations that he's dealing with too. There's a lot going on. Like he's got like issues with the person who runs the prison, the prison guards, the people in the prison.
Yeah.
He's got a full plate on him, and he's respected by some and disrespected by others. Yeah, I really like the movie a lot. There's a lot going on in this movie for a movie that's only what, an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah, it's
There's a
not very
lot
long.
happening.
Yeah, this is what I'll say about it. I mean, like, I liked it fine. I liked it okay. I would say, like, I'd give it, like, a 3 stars for at least a first viewing because I feel like it is a lot going on in a small amount of time. I feel like it feels a little overstuffed.
He's trying to do too much.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about if it's action, it's one thing. Action, the pacing is, you move through it. But when you're talking about all these kind of very psychological things going on, it feels like there needs to be a little bit more room to breathe for some of these things, a little bit more finessing of some of these certain scenarios. You got like prisoners that are going insane. You got one prisoner that like, and every once in a while you'll see them kind of like boil over and like go crazy. And it gets to a point at the very end where something bad happens. And it's like, I don't feel like some of that stuff, like because you're in and out of the prison, some of that stuff doesn't really hit because you're like in the prison, then you're out of the prison, and then then he's back in, and it's like some of that stuff doesn't really hit home because I think there is a little bit of a theme of institutionalism, something that like this isn't my pairing, but like Shawshank Redemption, I got some Shawshank Redemption vibes in the sense of like when you're talking about the inner workings of a prison and like the psychological stuff that you go through being in prison too long or trying to get out, or the dealings with the guards, that intermingling. I got a lot of Shawshank vibes, but I liked it fine. I think this is a movie that maybe will grow on me if I watch it again. So that's why I'm somewhere in the middle here. I'm at an average rating.
I can understand that because it's tough to figure out if the movie's trying to be more than what it is. Because as it's trying to comment on, you know, prison corruption and power and abuse of power and oppression of people in prison and mistreatment of people in prison, is trying to comment on the whole prison system. It does a little bit of that, but then it's not really saying a lot about it. And then it's more about like, hey, is this like a gangster movie, or maybe it's more than a gangster movie? There's a lot. It doesn't want to be anything, but it wants to be everything.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mesh. It's a little bit of a deconstruction of like the heist genre in a way, in ways. I know what will help me a lot is listening to the only feature on this disc, which is a audio commentary by Kat Ellinger. So,
I would want to listen to that as well.
I know. So I think if I listen to that, it might give me some good perspective on this film. But solid pick. It's a solid film just on the first watch, and it's definitely one I want to revisit. And Losey is somebody that I discovered a couple years ago when I watched his film, The Servant. And I thought that movie was a masterpiece. I was like, dude, on the first watch, I was like, God, this movie's so interesting and so well acted and just well shot and just so much layers to it. And I was like, I got to see everything he's got. So I got tons of his stuff in my collection, some that I still need to watch as well. So, but Losey is somebody, if you have never delved into his filmography, you should. Criminal solid. But we'll get back to me after we talk about some Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I mean, in other Joseph Losey films, it doesn't help that he's done so many other films that are probably much better than The Criminal. Like Steven mentioned, The Servant.
I think it's what is it?
I mean, The Damned is really good. King and Country.
King and Country, yeah,
is really good. Secret Ceremony, which I think I talked about here on an
you did it. You did it on this show. Yep.
Of the Unwatched pile. But for my pick, I went with a 1985 Western directed and starring Clint Eastwood, Pale Rider. Now, this is a recent addition to the collection as of like this month, so it's not taking it off the pile from years ago, but I actually have been wanting to see this movie for a very long time.
It's a classic Clint Eastwood that you have to see.
Yeah.
And it's, you don't want to wait. It's like This is to me like gold standard. Like, it's not the most complicated of the Clint Eastwood westerns, but it's like one of the most satisfying.
Yeah,
It's
not by a
satisfying.
long shot.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
What is interesting about this movie, mostly, is where it took place within his career.
Yeah.
1985. He's what, 20 years into his career at this point, actually longer, because he started in the late 50s doing like television work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of him being a lead in a movie, I kind of typically put him, in the mid 60s doing the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns, A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Then he went on to not only star in his own westerns, but direct them as well. Things like Outlaw Josie Wales and, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, he did the Dirty Harry movies, all that kind of stuff. So this is actually the only western that he was in the 1980s.
Really?
I believe so. I was reading that according to the IMDb trivia, which is fascinating to me because I thought he was in other things.
I was going to say, I feel like there was at least one or two others in there.
I was.
I'm going to go. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at it.
Up for me because I feel like because Coogan's Bluff, while he's dressed as a cowboy, is not a western.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, he was doing the Dirty Harry movies in the 70s and a couple in the 80s. I think one in the 80s. But by that point, he was doing other films. Like he was doing like Every Which Way But Lose, Every Which Way But Win, stuff like that. And he was doing other things in the 80s. But I feel like this may have been his only western that he did. Are you looking up his IMDb?
I'm looking at it now. So 1980, Bronco Billy.
Okay.
You got Any Which Way Would Lose, 82, Firefox, Honky Tonk Man in 82, Sudden Impact, Tightrope, City Heat, Pale Rider, Heartbreak Ridge, Deadpool, Pink Cadillac, and that's the 80s.
Yeah. There you go. And then Unforgiven wouldn't be until what, 1992?
92, yeah.
Yeah. And that movie is actually considered the swan song for the genre in general, at least as we know it to be. A lot of connections between his earlier stuff and this film, and then Unforgiven and this film as well. So for those of you who have not seen this movie, like I said, written, it is starring and directed by Clint Eastwood, and he is indeed the Pale Rider, as the title would suggest. So the Pale Rider, for those of you who do not know, is one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as predicted in the book of Revelation in the Bible. And the Pale Rider is death, and he's going to be coming in riding a pale horse, a white horse. And lo and behold, Clint Eastwood's character rides into this film on a white horse. So this takes place in Gold Rush country. In Gold Rush country, there are these miners who have these claims on this gold area, and they're like mining and panning for gold in rivers and stuff like that. But there's this big overlord boss called La Hood, and literally he's so powerful that the town is called La Hood, and he basically terrorizes these people. He wants them kicked out because he wants their land, he wants their claims, he wants all this. And he just terrorizes them to get them out of there. At the beginning of the movie, his men rush into this camp, kill people, burn things.
No, they don't kill people.
They kill the dog. They kill this poor girl's dog.
That is an animal, not a person. But there is like a, and I do like this about the movie too, because it's like a lot of times you get movies like this and people come in and they just kill a bunch of people, and it's like, oh, there will be no repercussions for that. Well, in this, they kind of like, they're like, okay, we can't just kill these people because, the law, it is the law, you can't just kill people. So we have to get them to leave by just basically making their life miserable and making it hard for them to stay there. By destroying their place to live and kill their animals, and then making
their livestock,
the livestock's killed.
Pigs,
so I do think that's nice that they like kind of make it a little bit more realistic in that way.
You know what I was thinking? You know what's interesting that you're mentioning that? You know what I'm confusing it with? The opening of Outlaw Josie Wales is that's what happens. People get killed in the opening of Outlaw Josie Wales. Yet again, like that influence from Clint Eastwood's past. is directly in this movie. Like, I get a lot of, I'm not pairing it up with the Outlaw Josie Wales or anything like that, but I also get so many other of his westerns that are just popping into my head right now that I
mean,
can't
like
remember.
High Plains Drifter.
I'm thinking of High Plains Drifter because it's so similar to High Plains Drifter. Because in this movie, after this initial attack happens, there's this little girl who basically prays to God that someone would basically come help them, and lo and behold, here he comes, and he comes in, and he's not given a name throughout the movie. He's only referred to as the preacher because he wears a preacher collar, and he seemingly comes out of nowhere, and he doesn't say, no, don't call me a preacher, but he just goes along with it.
This is essentially an extension of the Man with No Name.
It is. It's the Man with No Name. Even in High Plains Drifter, he doesn't have a name in there as well. He just comes in out of the mist, out of nowhere.
Well, see, I think that this is the type this type of Western character is something that we don't see in general in a lot of film anymore, and I think that it's a lesson we need to get back around to, because we've talked about that. We talked about this with our man that did the indie film that we just talked about. I don't know why. See, I'm blanking now.
You talk about Obsession?
No. We had the indie filmmaker on here recently.
Oh, yes. Beautiful Pam.
Beautiful Pam. And not everything needs to be explained. And talked away. So in this case, we have a character who's very mysterious that we don't need to know his background, but we'll probably get a little tidbits about, and especially through our villain character, we get a little tidbits, and that's what makes him interesting. That's what keeps you compelled. You don't need to know all about his past. It's not.
So he comes in and basically starts helping these people deal with this problem. He's helping them like make decisions, helping them kind of deal with, not only this big old corporate overlord rich guy wants in their land, but the person that he hires is this like legendary marshal Stockburn, I think his name is, and he and his men are going to come to town and basically forcibly remove these people from this land if indeed they don't leave. And basically the Clint Eastwood Pale Rider character is forced to take up his guns yet again. He goes to a bank, he goes to a safety deposit box in another bank, Wells Fargo. I don't know if that was a tie-in or something, but he goes there, gets his guns, and he's going to come and basically take people out. That's kind of the movie. I'm not even spoiling it. That's basically the plot of the movie.
It's very simple. It's very simple. And it's a good watch. It's an easy watch. And like I grew up, my grandfather's a super fan of Clint Eastwood, and I used to see these movies on all the time, and it's just kind of, these are always going to be something that are kind of somewhat ingrained in me. That's something I'll always, even if I don't remember right off the bat what the movie is, I'm like, oh, I've seen that scene, because they were always on. But I mean, this is one of his more like straightforward films, but I find it to be very like a satisfying watch.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of catharsis in this movie, especially towards the end. That's brought out, and there are a lot of character moments in the movie. Like, there are characters in this film that Clint Eastwood's character interacts with. It's basically a family that he kind of attaches himself to, or they attach. It's more like they attach themselves to him, and especially like the young girl and the mother character and the people of this little community kind of attach themselves to him and like kind of look to him for guidance, look to him for salvation, if you will.
Well, I was gonna say that there's a couple different themes running through the movie. There's obviously the idea of like the corporate coming in and kind of taking over everything, and kind of fighting against that system. And then there's this like thing of like religion, how religion can compel people to come together, and give them faith. And that's something we need to fight against. The idea of one idea coming together to bring people together. So like, I mean, there are some great, and I'll say this too, some iconic shots in this film.
I was just going to mention this. So
the one shot with him where he's about to go up against Lee Van Cleef, and he picks the hat up off the ground. Oh,
very good.
Fantastic shot.
This movie is shot by Bruce Surtees, who was a frequent collaborator with Clint Eastwood. He shot like he shot like Dirty Harry and Firefox, and he actually shot like the Conquest of Planet of the Apes. But his cinematography in this movie is stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
Which leads me to mention that this 4K looks amazing. This
Yeah, I
4K
gotta get it. I gotta get
stunning.
it.
It's a lot of dark cinematography in here. Like they constantly have Clint Eastwood, like his face is covered in shadows, like his eyes will be covered. A lot of just shadowy shots and darker shots. I thought it was shot by Gordon Willis, the Prince of Darkness, because it was so dark.
Yeah.
But it looks so purposely done and so beautifully well shot. And this also leads me to say that this movie's been released a couple of times on Blu-ray. Initially, the first Blu-ray release was in 2008, and then they re-released that same exact disc, same exact transfer in 2010 and 2012, and it was released in the like the 20 film Clint Eastwood box set that they put together a few years ago, same exact disc. So this movie desperately needed a remaster and restoration, and Warner Brothers finally did it. And this came out, I think, April of last year, as well as Dirty Harry came out, and Outlaw Josie Wales came out as well. And apparently, they all received really, really nice remasters and restorations. And kudos to Warner Brothers for doing it that, and not only doing a full-on restoration and remastering, new special features too.
Wow.
Shock of the century.
That's the
Shock
shocking
of
thing.
the century.
Yeah.
Let me bring him up here because I was so shocked because you hardly see that these days when it comes to mainstream studios putting out their back catalog. Typically, they just either license them out to one of the boutique labels that we talk about here on Chasing Labels, or if they put it out themselves, there's no special features. It's just like whatever was already been produced, they put out. So there's a Diary of the Sydney Penny Lessons from the Set that's 8 minutes long. That's the young girl in this film. This was like one of her first films she was ever in. I think it was her first film. They interview the actress now, and her talking about working with Clint Eastwood and auditioning and stuff like that. Then there's Painting the Preacher, the cinematography of Pale Rider. That's 9 minutes long. And then Reinventing Westerns is 18 minutes long. And that was a previous special feature that was in that 20 film set that they put on here. And it's kind of just like a retrospective of Clint Eastwood's career. And they interview like certain producers, and like Mel Gibson's in there, and some other directors. And then there's two really long special features on here too. One is Eastwood Directs the Untold Story, that's 61 minutes long, and then the Eastwood Factor, which is 98 minutes long. So for this release here from a major studio, I was surprised at how many features they are and how long they were. So yeah, this is a really excellent release. I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Stunned.
Stunning. And the movie, like we've been saying, is rather good. If you want that old school hard western that you think of associated with Clint Eastwood, this is kind of all of that in there. Like it's got elements from Unforgiven, it's got elements from, like I said, Outlaw Josie Wales, as well as High Plains Drifter. It's got all of that in here. In a really like concise package.
Even the spaghetti western stuff, because you get Lee Van Cleef in there, and you just
it's really really good stuff.
So, but and I love the set too, because like sometimes
they shot it on location, like Idaho in the mountains. I think that's why it looks so good.
Yeah, it looks so good. I mean, they probably built these little towns, and that's the thing I like about it too. Is it's like it just feels very lived in and real. And I like a good snowy western that's got some snow in it. Not
I like being in the mountains and the woods. It's so scenically beautiful and really. I mean, I'm going to wax poetically. We don't see a lot of on location films shot now. I mean, they are, but then they're also kind of also covered in a lot of blue screen, a lot of green screen that they hang up and stuff like that. So it is shot on location, but it's mostly like dressed up sets of a location, as opposed to being like shot in the woods or in the mountains and things like that. So what a nice throwback. I don't know why. You know why I waited so long to see it? It's because I wanted to buy it and I just never did.
This is the same old song and dance, man. We know.
Yeah.
You wait till the format catches up to you, and
I guess I did.
You finally wait.
Because I have so many Clint Eastwood films, and this was just one of his most notorious ones that I don't have. There's a lot of his non-Western stuff I still need to see,
Oh
so they
yeah,
may show up. Like I've never seen Bridges of Madison County.
me
I've never
either.
seen like Heartbreak Ridge.
Oh, I love. You haven't seen Heartbreak Ridge?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to watch Heartbreak
Yeah, I
Ridge.
haven't seen like Firefox. I haven't seen a lot of his like '90s non-Unforgiven movies.
That's one you
Basically.
should. That's one you should go after. Heartbreak Ridge is fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
So we're gonna
watch that one a lot going up.
I didn't watch a lot of. You know what I watched? I think I've said this before. I watched Every Which Way But Loose and Every Which Way You Can. I
Them
watched
too.
that
I
over and
watched
over
them
again on
too a lot
VHS.
growing up too. But Heartbreak Ridge was right in that mix because it's like military movie, and it's also kind of like a comedy. It's fun.
Okay, so
all right,
we'll kick it back to you for your pairing for The Criminal / The Concrete Jungle.
Yeah, so this one was kind of tough, man. I couldn't fit because as we described, this movie is kind of like it's kind of got an identity crisis. I don't know what this movie is a little bit. It's kind of got the heist element in it, but it's also like got prison and psychological things going on. And so initially, this was my first thought was Mel Gibson's Payback. It was kind of a fun pick, but I was like, it's not really a revenge movie. Payback's kind of got a revenge movie angle to it.
Oh.
And so I was like, no. So the movie I honed in on the psychological stuff. And when, as I said, when we were talking about The Criminal, about how I felt like the movie was somewhat of a deconstruction of like a heist movie. Like you're getting the heist, but then you're seeing like what happens when you're a criminal and you have to like sit with that and sit with other criminals and like, hear about some of the stuff and how they're thinking and what they're going through. So I was like, what's a movie that I have in my collection that takes something that we typically see, and we usually see a more amped up version of it, but this movie like kind of slows it down and like makes us like look at it in a more like realistic fashion. And the first thing that kind of came to mind was Lynn Ramsey's You Were Never Really Here.
Oh, nice.
Because this is a film about essentially a hired hitman. He's not a hitman. He's more of like a hired like muscle that goes and kind of takes care of stuff. But in this movie, we're essentially dealing with his psychological well-being most of the movie. I mean, yeah, you get the hard-hitting moments where he beats the shit out of somebody or does something, but like in between all that, it's a lot of psychological, like what's this guy got to do when he's not doing his jobs, and how is he dealing with the things that he does, the jobs that he's doing, like how they affect him in the he has particularly a affinity for like not wanting to see children get hurt. Like he's very much like it's a hard thing for him. So like when he has to take on a job where he has to go get a kid, that he like kind of goes beyond what he usually does. And yeah, I just thought that I mean, not only is this a great film, but it really kind of hits that idea of like, taking a specific genre that you would typically see a little bit more of a Jason Statham do this movie, somebody like that would amp it up. Would see a lot of fighting. You would see a lot more action and kind of bring it down to the ground and like slow it down and like sit with it. The other movie I thought about was The Hitman, the Fincher film that's on Netflix.
Oh.
But that one I can't own. So, at this point, so this was kind of another, this I think fits well with that same idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I was interesting. I didn't even think of from that perspective. I was thinking of The Killing.
That was another one for sure. Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. It literally has them a racetrack again.
Yeah. I was thinking the whole racetrack vibe. I wasn't thinking so much the character itself, because the character is, even if I was going to choose something based on that character, I would be thinking more along the lines of like some type of classic noir or something. Like even like The Big Heat or some James Cagney film or something like that. That's what I was thinking more along the lines of when I was watching The Criminal, because I was thinking of a criminal element. I was thinking of organized crime. Heck, you could have even gone in the Godfather if you wanted to. I don't know. But that's an interesting pairing. Yeah, Lynn Ramsey's an excellent director. One of my favorites, currently still working today. Yeah, that's a great choice. That's a great
Well,
choice.
I mean, it's just for me, the like as we talked about it, like I didn't get a lot of vibes of like The Killing is a heist movie, and it's about the technicals of a heist movie. I mean, you really get that like work up to the heist, and it's all about the heist. But this movie, The Criminal, is not really. It's not really fascinated with that too much. I don't think. I think that it's a part of the story, but it's not really fascinated with the machinations of
very true.
about stealing some money. I mean,
It's not about that. Yeah, that's yeah. See, like I said, it was a tough choice because the movie is an
it's
amalgamation of
kind
so
of a
many
tough.
different
It's
things.
a little bit of enigma. Yeah, so that's why I chose a movie that like it's about a guy that's like hired to like find people, hired to get people, but really he's dealing with stuff, and that's what is the movie's trying to reckon with.
Ironically so, my movie, Pale Rider, is the opposite of that, where it is very straightforward in terms of what it is. Very
No, for
straightforward.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Like, it's exactly what you think it is, and that is what it is, and what it does is very good at what it is.
for sure.
Swinging over to my pairing, I didn't make it too complicated. I decided to make it rather simple. I had a few things in my head. I could have gone within the same genre. Like I said, I could have gone with another Clint Eastwood movie, but I did kind of stick within the genre. Actually, I went with.
Okay.
I may have brought this up before, but the George Stevens movie Shane.
Ah, yes.
I went with this. I was trying to pick up with this idea of this stranger coming into the lives of people and helping them in their situation.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that, and I was thinking of what other movies would be dealing with like a stranger comes to town and changes things up. And
Yeah.
my mind just kept blanking. I was thinking of Bad Day at Black Rock with Spencer Tracy, how he just shows up and starts beating people up in that movie. I was thinking of that, but then I was like, I was also thinking of Seven Samurai, and I was like, Seven Samurai,
for sure.
These seven samurai help out this village that is being oppressed and attacked and harassed by a much more powerful entity. I was thinking of that, but then I was like, I'm gonna just go with the easy pick.
Well,
Go with
that's also a group of men. It's not just
it's
not
person.
exactly a one for one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking about keeping with the individual. But what is interesting about both this and Pale Rider is that even in Pale Rider, there is some hesitancy within the Clint Eastwood character to take up his guns again. Like, he doesn't carry them with him. You can tell there's something from his past that he utilized in a different life, perhaps a life that he doesn't want to necessarily go back to, becoming a person he doesn't want to go back to. There's hints of that in this movie here. And same thing in Shane. Shane is he's a notorious gunfighter, and he basically puts his guns away and because he wants to now live a non-violent life. He doesn't want to be that person anymore, but he keeps getting drawn back into it, just like a Pale Rider in Pale Rider. It's very fascinating how those two characters really connect with each other with their hesitancy to go back to their old lives and basically do what they're best at, which is killing, essentially. And that's basically what there is. But in this movie, you have Alan Ladd plays Shane, Gene Arthur, and Van Heflin, as well as I think Brandon DeWild is the young boy in here, and then Jack Palance is the bad guy in here who's harassing this family. And Shane just comes to town and like ingratiates himself with this family and ends up having to help them out. That's kind of Shane, but there's way more to it than that. It's a notoriously well-known Western.
Best Picture winner.
It's been referenced throughout other films and pop culture.
Come back, Shane.
Yeah, that little kid at the end just yelling. And he was nominated for an Oscar, and I think he won.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but anywho, that is Shane. So,
good stuff.
Not a lot to say about that movie without spoiling it, but I just want people to experience that movie for themselves. Notoriously in the movie Logan, they're watching that movie on television, and it's like that whole movie is definitely a metaphor for the character Wolverine / Logan being a stand-in for Shane in that film. I mean, even Patrick Stewart has a whole like monologue where he's basically talking to us as the audience and kind of explaining the plot of Shane to the little girl, and it's like, yeah, we're supposed to believe that Wolverine / Logan is Shane in this movie. But moving on, I guess, to our third act.
Yeah. So
our second act in this.
So that's it for our normal programming tonight. So now we're going to move into our little bit of a review and recommendation section for the newest horror hit film, Obsession, directed by Curry Barker. Before we get into it, we do got some comments here. Josie has dropped in saying, hey, some first time watches, 24 City,
Kinzaza.
That's I have that movie. That's
from one of the partner labels.
I got that. Yeah. The Big Hit, The Admirable Crichton, Offbeat, and Beautiful Girls. And then she said, after my friend and I got out of Obsession, we discussed how the wording of making wishes with the One Wish Willow is key. Yes, for sure. We'll get into that. To which he brought up the idea, what if someone were to wish to cure all diseases? How would that go wrong? We can talk about that, I guess. Yeah, we'll just stop there because she's got some other ideas in here, but
that
directly involve plot and stuff. Yeah. So this movie kind of came out. I'm sure people had seen a trailer. I hadn't seen a trailer for the movie. I honestly decided to go see the movie because I started seeing word of mouth on how good it was. I didn't watch no trailer. I went into it pretty blind. And was completely blown away by it.
Yeah.
From obviously the acting is great. But for me, it was the direction. I thought to me, what really set this movie apart was how well and how interestingly it was directed and the cinematography, all that stuff. Like, and Curry Barker, I believe, shot them. He was the cinematographer and the editor on this as well. So, might want to make sure on that. Just I know he's the editor. Right, I know he's the editor for sure.
Let's see. Yeah, he was the writer, the director. Let's see. Going down. Keep in mind that this movie was made for under $1 million.
Under $1 million.
So therefore, he had to probably do multiple things. Yeah, he was the editor, and
he probably didn't do the cinematography though. It might have been somebody else.
There's got to be a cinematographer. Oh no, he did not do the cinematography.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, writer, editor, and director. So he very much had his hands all over this thing, and I just thought the choices were amazing. I for somebody that I think typically was. I mean, I know he's done some shorts, and he's typically played a lot in comedy. And there's some comedy in this movie, but the choices of how he used lighting and how he used sound were very just masterful stuff. I mean, Andrew, your first, how did you come into the movie?
So I had heard about it basically through, because people probably know this about me. I'm on my phone 14 hours a day. So obviously I hear things bouncing around from social media app to social media app to social media app. So and it's my algorithm is mostly about movies and TV and, things like that. Basically the stuff I talk about here on Chasing Labels and such. So I heard people talking about it, because it had gotten its early screenings and then it had gotten the limited screenings and then the wide screenings. I heard a little bit about it here and there. And then I went on to Letterboxd, saw other people seeing it. Then Steven messaged me about it. And I was like, by that point, I was like, I already want to see the movie. So I was like, yeah, I got to see it.
I just put a cherry on top.
And then I was
Steven was like, it was
because Steven, because typically with your life the way it is, you don't go to the movies, all willy-nilly like you used to do when you were younger.
No.
So this had to have been a special,
I made
a reason.
It was a very last minute. I was like, okay, so I'm gonna check to see if my mom will watch my child. And I was like, I'm hearing a lot of good. I'm getting kind of excited about what I'm hearing about this. So I got my mom to watch it, and I was able to go to I think it was a 4:30 showing. I was just like, yeah, it was great.
It was it blew me away because there's so many things to get into here. But yeah, so that's how I heard about it, basically through word of mouth on the internet, then Steven, and then I was like, by that point I was already going to see it anyways, watched it, and then I messaged Steven back, and I messaged him back with the video clip of Matthew McConaughey in The Wolf of Wall Street where he goes, he's like, "Holy fucking shit," because the stock market crashed in the 80s. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of my reaction to that whole movie. Because it's like, wow, I can't believe this is this good. And what shocked me the most, it's a Blumhouse film. Well, it's distributed by Focus Features / Blumhouse. Blumhouse and Universal, they're kind of one and the same these days. And I'm like, this is the best movie Blumhouse has put their name on in years. Like truly in years. Yeah, I was just completely taken with it. I don't know if you wanted to get a little bit of the synopsis out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could do the synopsis. Yeah, anybody that doesn't know what this is or somehow stumbling across this and don't know what the movie is yet. By IMDb, it says, after breaking the mysterious one-wish willow to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. Yeah. So,
it's the classic, be careful what you wish for type of story.
Yeah.
It's I think they call this type of plot the monkey paw plot, which I think is based. Is it based off of an Edgar Allan Poe story from the 19th century or something like that? Where
I think
there's
so,
this magical monkey's paw that you make wishes on, and things can go bad.
I know the director Curry Baker has referenced that some of his inspiration was from the episode from The Simpsons, the monkey paw episode from The Simpsons.
Gotcha.
So but yeah, I mean, it's not a plot wise, guys. It's we tell you the plot, it's not
like you've seen it before. Chances.
Yeah, it's not I've seen an episode like this on Supernatural. They've had episodes in this on different shows where there's like something that can grant wishes, whether it's a genie or whether it's an item or whether it's not that's like the thing that everybody's, I think, getting so grasped to. I think it's our main actors' performances, and I think it's the way in which the story is told.
Yeah,
and the kind of I think the intention of what's going on in the background, what we can understand and what we don't really know that's going on in the background is what makes this movie so terrifying and unnerving, and like it makes it work so well.
It does make it work so well because, like we said, the surface of the plot is exactly what we said. Someone, makes a wish and it goes bad. Like we said, we've seen that plot before, but we've seen the same plots over and over in other movies. It all depends on what you do with it. And in this film, I thought they did something fascinatingly deep with it.
Yeah.
Like the layers in this movie, I was not expecting for where to go. Like I'm almost telling people, like, don't even think of the plot of this movie. Not don't even think about it, but I'm like, don't watch this movie on the surface level at all, because you're gonna miss out on so much going on. So the main character in this movie, his name is Bear. And he has this crush on his coworker.
Her name's Nikki.
And he's got anxiety about it, social anxiety about it. He doesn't have the courage to tell her, and he doesn't want to screw up their friendship because they're like, also it's one of those like the best friend scenario and whatnot. So you don't want to screw this up. We've seen this in sitcoms before. Heck, we've seen this so many times. And she basically flat out asks him, "Hey, do you have feelings for me?" And he still can't.
He still can't say it.
Still can't do it, right? And but previously he bought her this gift because he wanted to give her this gift, and it's this one-wish willow. It's this piece of wood that if you break it and make a wish, your wish comes true. It's a little trinket thing that he bought at the store. He probably didn't think much of it. He wanted to buy her like a necklace charm thing or whatever. He didn't do that. And he wanted to bring her this thing, and he accidentally breaks it while saying, "Oh, I wish she loved." What was the wish? She's like, "I wish she loved me more than anything," or something like that.
More than anything in the world. Yeah.
More than anything in the world, which is something we probably have said all the time in our lives. It's just by happenstance when we were young and impressionable.
Up until this point, a little bit further, Bear is a very relatable character to people like me, to people like you, people like a lot of us that are
nice
romantic
guy. Just he has this big time crush on his best friend, and all this kind of stuff. But he's got that anxiety. He's got the shyness about him. But then he makes this wish, and things change almost immediately. And that's when the filmmaking kicks in, and the environment kicks in this film. The cinematography, the lighting, the mood changes on a dime in this film. And it starts getting scary right away. It starts getting
and see, and,
right
and
away.
there's something to keep in mind too. Like I think one kind of issue I think I've heard somebody say about the movie that I don't think's an issue is that there's certain moments in the movie that you can kind of see, you can see it coming. You're like, oh, I know what's about to happen. I know it's about to happen, and we're just waiting for it to happen. But how it's presented and how we get there, you're still like, God, when is this gonna happen? Like you're like waiting for it to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
And we've seen that happen within the genre so many times. The jump scares, the building up of tension, and then there's the explosion. I mean, what's the name? Andy Muschietti did it so many times in his It movies that those became predictable to me. But I'm just saying, like it's a staple of the genre, but it's the extra stuff that's put into it that I appreciate a lot. Like I said,
contextualizes it more.
The acting.
It's.
And basically what goes on from there plot-wise is, the person that he most desired in life now wants him more than anything. And that's where the whole, like, be careful what you wish for kind of takes off from there, but it gets deeper and deeper and deeper as the movie goes along.
I think from there, the movie starts to explore the dynamics between men and women
dynamics.
The dynamics between men and women in general, but also men and, like a relationship, obviously toxic relationships, things like that, but also like just like consent, just like, because in this case,
big time. We're talking like big time life themes here. Things like consent, things like relationship dynamics, things like relationship interactions and trust and untrust and insecurities and all this kinds of stuff just gets kind of dialed up to 11 and really just thrown out there and explored.
Just think about it in this way too, like filmmakers like Mel Brooks. How do they explore themes in their movies? He takes it to an extreme with comedy. And that's how he explores some of the things he does in his films. And this is what he does. This is what Curry Baker does in this movie by taking them insecurities, taking them relationship themes and things like that, and escalating them really high to explore them. And I think that that's what's so brilliant about it. I think, and we'll get into it when we get into spoilers here in a minute. We can start going through some of them ideas a little bit more detail. But I think the movie spends the rest of the time kind of exploring them themes, and then I think you start to feel really differently about your characters by the time you're done with it. I think.
There's a shift in this movie, and the movie becomes very morally murky and very morally gray. And I wouldn't even say gray; it just goes dark. It just goes dark. Like, because once you start digging into the implications and really digging down into what this movie's portraying and what it's saying, perhaps it makes you not feel good about life. It makes you not.
I mean, we'll get into. We're about to get into spoilers. I can really delve into it, but that's essentially, I think me and Andrew are pretty much on the same plane here about how we feel about this. Like that, this film is a very well done, like stylistically shot well. It's written well, and for what it is, like people might look at it as on the surface as being a very simple horror movie that maybe even does some tropey things, but I think its presentation is like kind of like ahead of its years for somebody that's like just doing his first big feature film.
Like, for a first feature like this, it's very well done. I'm also really intrigued by how simple the movie is from just a production standpoint. I mean, there's only like 3 or 4 characters in the movie. There's only a couple of sets that are in.
There's like 3 or 4 sets.
Like 3 or 4 sets. Like I said, under $1 million. What he was able to achieve for that low amount is very impressive, considering what I've seen from people who have had more money haven't been able to achieve these things. And he played to the strengths of the acting. which is shocking to me because these actors in here are not really well known.
They're not.
They've been in things before, but none of them are big time actors.
Yeah, our Nikki character, I think she's done it. She was on Superman and Lois, I think. What's her name's
Indy Navarrete. Or Indy Navarrete.
Yes. I know that the one that plays Bear's friend Carter, or not, is that no, not Carter, Ian. He's been in a few of the shorts from Curry Baker. I know they've worked together a lot. But yeah, I think that we're seeing a breakout performance here from Indy Navarrete, and she's
got to run the gamut of emotions in this movie.
She's crazy, yeah,
because she's like 3 different characters.
Yeah,
just off the top of my head, and she plays them all distinctly different, and it's so fascinating. But I think we should transition into the spoilers.
Yeah, because I mean we can't really
dig any deeper without giving away.
Yeah, because of how simple the plot is. The themes are what really color this out, and so like I think to me the biggest, and this is why like I could even say I found myself in this position as Bear myself, not in the sense that I've had a wishing willow and I've been able to make a wish and do anything that terrible to somebody, but like I've been what I would consider a nice guy that had a hard time getting girls myself, and we I think explore that nice guy syndrome a little bit. It's a thing people have come up with a lot, and how not always being the nice guy means that you're actually a good person. Because when it comes to it in this movie, Bear does not make the morally right decision.
No,
he makes he makes selfish decisions.
Selfish decisions, and there's a point in the movie where that becomes very apparent, which
yes,
we do want to get to. But I guess spoiler alert, flashing. Yes. So what ends up happening in the movie is Nikki is essentially possessed throughout the rest of this movie.
She's still there. She's inside her body, but she can't.
She can't. She's basically not able to function or control her own body. She can't make her own decisions. She can't move her body, and her body's basically possessed by some entity that we really don't know anything about. And to be honest, I didn't need to know anything about it. There's so many horror movies that love to explain all that stuff, and I'm like, it's just obligatory background nonsense most of the time.
And we've said it many times, and I've said it many times on this show, like especially with Star Wars, like the mystery is getting taken out of everything by explaining everything. So in this particular, one of the best scenes in the movie, we do get a glimpse where he gets the wish, the one wish willow, and there's a number on it, and he calls it, and there's some just normal sounding kind of like maybe even high guy on the other end, just like, hey man, what's up? Like, hey, and he explains like, you can't change the wish, you can't cancel the wish.
Yeah, and that scene is like a couple of minutes, and it tells us everything we need to know without going into some background story of, this is a demon from 500 years ago, and they like to possess this, and they like to do that, and lo and behold, that they'd come every 15 years or whatever. Like, there's this whole lore backstory to a lot of these possession movies that we didn't really need in this, because it's not important to what's going on. It's not important to the themes that are being explored.
Yeah.
It would just be window dressing and added on stuff that we really didn't need to pump up the time. All we need to know is what's happening in this moment, in the presence, is that there is some entity that is possessing these people when these wishes are made. And in this particular case, it is obsessively in love with Bear, which obsessed to the point where like they don't function outside of their love.
They don't know how to. Yeah, they've become so codependent,
and that in and of itself is taking the idea of like real life codependency, like Steven was saying, and dialing it up to a million.
Yeah.
Like
where you can't function without literally can't function without the other person.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen in real life relationships where they're so codependent that even if the relationship is not good, even if it's a toxic relationship, these two people can't leave each other because for whatever reason, some
some sense of like insecurity. Usually it's like I
Or
don't like
fear of just what
being
would my
alone.
life be like without this person? They
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that.
But in this particular scene, we this was, I think, the first time where we really get that, like, okay, Bear is not that, he's maybe not that nice of a guy,
Yeah.
because instead of trying to, he first he tries to cancel, instead of trying to cancel the wish, he's like, can we just adjust the wish? Can we just adjust it? Because I still want her to, I want to be with her, but I don't want her to be like this. And
Mm.
that tells you all you need to know. Now that he knows what this thing does, he doesn't want to get rid of it. He wants her to
No.
still, he wants to still be with her and kind of have her still be in love with him.
Yeah, he likes aspects of this.
He likes
You know what I mean?
aspects of it.
He
Yeah.
loves the obsessive relation, because there's this whole montage in here of them like going on these cute dates and doing all
Yep.
these cute couple things and all being all lovey-dovey with public displays of affection at work and all this kind of stuff. He loves all that stuff, but the other things, no, he can't. He doesn't want to deal with
The you know, because like when there are moments where he has to like not, he has to do something that doesn't involve her, she gets upset. And that's when she like, it ramps up. But then there's another factor into this we'll get into in a little bit, where not only is it this like obsessive wish thing, but it's also the real Nikki fighting and clawing and finding ways through.
That's something I didn't mention quite yet, because that happens later on in the movie.
Yeah,
There are moments in this film where the real Nikki emerges.
Yeah.
And they are sudden and they are random, and they're frightening.
It causes scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, it causes scenes, and it'll be only for like a few seconds or a
Yeah.
few brief moments, and then the entity retakes over. And that is frightening just from an empathetic perspective as a viewer, thinking of what that person must be going through, of not being able
Yeah.
to control themselves and living inside of their own bodies that they're not controlling. That in and of itself is so philosophically deep. We could go on forever on that.
It brings me back to the movie Get Out, like
Yeah.
with Jordan Peele, like going into the sunken place and kind of seeing things, but not being able to do anything about it. And like just being stuck in a place with, you know, like when people talk about sleep paralysis and being stuck in your bed and just like not being able to move. And, you know, that's frightening to me. And I think that just thinking about Nikki being stuck in her own body and having to do these things and not having any control over it is frightening.
That's gotta be a metaphor for something, like, that's gotta be a metaphor for bad relationships that you're just not even, like, involved in anymore or something like that, like, you're checked out. It's gotta be a metaphor for something like that, but you're right, and that's when the whole consensual thing comes into play. She's not consenting to any of this.
No.
To this relationship, to the sexual acts that are happening in this relationship. None of that in it.
They don't do a lot of sex in the movie, but there is one scene of it where you literally see sex going on, and she's just, you know, you see her face, and that's kind of all you really get to see.
And to be honest, that's kind of all you really need in the movie in order to show us, you know, show us that thing. You don't need to repeat it to us, because we understand what's going on here, especially later on once we see the real Nikki emerge over and over again. Yeah, it's so interesting, and it's so fascinating the way the movie kind of just plays on that over and over again and ramps things up and up and up to the point of unsustainability. And then there is a moment in this film, which I think is the definitive moment where we know that Bear is not a good guy. Not only that scene that you just mentioned where he calls the guy to try to change the wish, just because he wants to augment it to his liking, not even thinking about the other person.
And he is given a choice. He's like, "Oh, you can stop the wish if you kill yourself."
Yeah, basically, either you die or the person that you've done the wish to dies. And that's what I'm leading to. Is there is a moment later on in the movie, after much time has passed, the real Nikki emerges, basically says, you know, end the wish by killing me, and Bear doesn't do it because in his mind he's like, she doesn't want to be with me to the point where she would rather die than not be with me. And he cannot stomach that idea because he's so selfish in and of himself. So to release this person from the living hell that they're going through, he's not willing to do it because of how it affects him. Yet again, not thinking of the other person.
Yeah, and when I've talked about
Yeah.
this with other people, I've said, like, like, people, when they hear the title Obsession, they automatically, like, associate it with her behavior in the movie, but really it's talking about, I think, Bear's behavior as well,
Mm.
because Bear is obsessed with her, and he's the one that's not magically being controlled by anything. He is just a human that is obsessed with a girl, and these are the choices he's making. Like, he's making these choices because he's really obsessed. He's not doing some crazy thing, but he's silently obsessed with this girl, and he's making choices based off that obsession. And he's only associating what is beneficial for himself in the
Yes.
relationship. It's only one-sided. He only wants her. He wants the sexual stuff. He wants the things that make him feel good about himself, not anything about her. And that's what obsession can do, is it can blind you from the truth, of what's actually going on.
Yeah. It can, like I said, it makes you very selfish. And like I said, he's only kind of thinking of himself. Even when he's faced with such a harsh reality too, he's not willing to end her suffering.
And even to a point where he's even before the wish even happens, he's given an opportunity where Nikki says, "Hey, our friend Sarah, I think, likes you too. There's a girl that might actually like him, that he could maybe date, that actually likes him, but he's so obsessed with her that that's not even an option."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so, we didn't even talk about that. So there is this coworker, Sarah, who probably, I mean, perhaps, actually not even perhaps, it's pretty obvious, has a crush on the Bear character.
Yeah.
And basically they interact with each other even while he's seeing Nikki. And you can kind of tell that at some point, I feel like Bear would have done the same thing to her that he would have done with Nikki. Have this obsession, have this this selfish love that he would have with her because he likes that she's so into him.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. We all like to be liked. I mean, I think that's just human nature. I think that's just human nature. We all like to be liked, but there are certain lines and boundaries that we have to recognize as people when we interact with others, and when we don't recognize them, and that's when things go south. Like,
Well,
things get,
yeah.
and I
There's
feel like Bear
obviously
understand those boundaries and those things.
Yeah, and there's also a level of maturity you have to have. If you have not been in a lot of relationships, you don't understand the dynamics. Like, you can't go into a relationship only being one-sided, and I think that's a lot of what's being talked about here. You can't just go in and just be thinking about this as a fantasy for yourself. It's a road that goes both ways. And I think if you would have gotten with Sarah, I don't know that it would have been the same thing. I think maybe she would have been a lot more mature. If you'd have been in a relationship where a girl actually liked him, he might have been okay. But unfortunately, he was friend zoned by Nikki and he couldn't handle it. So
that's another thing that at the movie, this whole colloquial idea of the friend zone, that thing's been in our lexicon now for decades.
Yeah.
This movie plays on it, but also moves past it because Nikki did ask him straight out whether he had feelings for her or not. So that's not so it plays with that idea of the friend zone, and then this kind of evolution of the friend zone, which in this case never happened. Well, it did happen, just inorganically.
It did.
You know what I mean?
And they could have
Happened in a twisted way.
They did, and they could have confronted that, and it could have. I think, we're, as somebody that's dealt with that, you're trying not to get hurt. You're trying not to confront that thing, and so I can see why he tried to avoid it by saying, "Oh no, I don't. No, I just want to be friends." I get it. So like like I said, I feel Bear up until a point in this movie. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I've been that guy. I know.
Yeah, when things turn for him really quickly, and he kind of goes. It's interesting because like I said earlier, things change so rapidly with him and Nikki. Like all of a sudden, a switch gets turned on, and she is kind of not all over him, but she is very much, obsessed with him right away. Like, there should have been bells going off in his head that something's not right here. But
it starts out very simple, and
Yeah.
they're both kind of at the same time obsessed with it. He's loving it. So they're like spending all their time together. But once they start separating a little bit, and they have to, that's when the cracks start to show about where this could go. And then, of course, the friends who are worried about, like, why is Nikki suddenly out of nowhere all over you and liking you? And they're trying to understand it. And then, Sarah, liking Bear, wants to understand it more. And then there's also the behind the scenes stuff that we find out later, where the friend was having hookups with Nikki. That plays a part in it. That even tells me that I think there's an interesting dynamic there too, because, like, there's a joke that's played, I think, on Bear in that moment where he tells her, hey, call her by that name that she doesn't like, Freaky Nikki. And his friend says, hey, just be mean to her. Just call her Freaky Nikki. And of course, he's been hooking up with Nikki behind his back, even though he knows his friend. Like, I think there was a little bit of like him fucking with him a little bit.
And it's like that dynamic of it is interesting too, because there's like, because this film plays in like two realities, where it's like there's that reality of where Nikki was her own self, and then there's the reality where Nikki is not herself. And that's what we see throughout the movie. And we get hints of like the way things used to be. Like the friends, like you were just saying, are kind of like, something's not real here. Something's not right here. But it also plays on those ideas that, oh, they just don't want to see me happy. They just don't want to see us happy. They're just, maybe, they bring up those old things like, oh, maybe they're jealous of us and stuff like that. And
well, there's just more going on behind the scenes that Bear doesn't know about. So like,
and there's just things that Bear doesn't know about. Also, there's the whole party sequence that happens in this movie. And I'm like, Bear, you got to realize things are not right here. It's interesting that this movie plays on the idea that the only way to stop what's happening is a definitive finality of it, which the movie does get to. Yeah. And that's why I think the movie has such a bold ending, to where I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this movie just went for it, just went all out.
Yeah, he tries to go get more One Wish Willows.
Yes.
And when he does get there, there's only like a couple left. And like, then he talks to the guy there, and the guy explains to him like I made my wish and I'm good.
And you can only make a wish once. I like that rule.
Yeah, I like that. So he can't make a wish. So now he has to go try to find somebody else to make a wish. And then he goes to his friend to do that. And of course, and I saw that coming. I was like, he's going to wish for something that has nothing to do with this, and he's going to fuck it up. But it's almost like kind of it's funny, but it's also like, God, like, so then the friend like wishes for $1 billion.
Yeah. And the money just starts falling from the sky.
Falling from the sky. It's great. I love it. And so, so then all he has is the one left over, and then he goes back home. And so this is where we like,
you want something. Yeah. He's at the end of his rope. He's basically,
he doesn't know what to do. Yeah. Like
he's exhausted all options, and he's going to, get rid of himself. And he gets up to the point where he's going to do it, and he still kind of backs out at the very end.
He does at the last second. Yeah.
And then he kind of goes with it, but then there's a little twist there at the end.
Yeah. He's about to kill himself, and then he's about to go back on it, and then Nikki gets a hold of the One Wish Willow. Yeah. So
it's interesting that entity. So how did you read the end?
No, I read the ending as the real Nikki used it.
Oh, that's how you read the ending.
Yeah. The real Nikki put him in a trance, and
I see. I didn't read it like that.
Did you not
so
read
what
that?
Happens is thus: he blocks himself in the bathroom. He's going to shoot himself. Doesn't do it. Then he takes a bunch of pills, and then he's about to shoot himself, and then doesn't, and then walks out of the bathroom, and he's in a trance now because the entity made the wish that he loves her, and then he dies, and then the real Nikki wakes up and starts screaming. Cut to black. That's bold as hell.
Like that reads good too, I think. But there's a part of me that thinks that the magical entity making the wish for Nikki seems a little bit like we're crossing a bound. I could be wrong. I feel like it's I think the real Nikki was like, hey, if I have to be stuck like this, he's gonna have to be stuck like this too, and that she's strong enough to break herself. And if she's found ways to break out of it, and that if she could just get the opportunity to get him close and then kill him, she could break herself out of it.
Oh, see, I didn't even read it like that. That's an interesting. That's an interesting read.
Multiple times broken out of.
The only way I don't agree with that necessarily is because once the wish is broken, she wakes up, she's horrified and just starts like screaming, like insanity.
Sure.
Which leads me to believe that she just like woke up out of a trance and she just sees carnage around her, and also has the memories of being trapped and what her body went through, and is horrified by it as well. And then the boldness of the movie to cut to black and end it right there kind of blew me away, because in most ways there would be perhaps a tighter bow ending, but no, this movie just ends in horror and carnage, darkness, awfulness. The world sucks. The end. And I'm like, you don't see movies take that bold choice these days. You know what I mean? Because a lot of movies will have to go through the studio system where the studio will give them notes, and they'll do the test screenings with the test audiences and all that bullshit. And they'll change the ending of the movie to make it better, I guess, better by their standards. Yeah. And no, this feels like, this was the intended ending by the director. Bold movie, a bold filmmaking, bold thematic layering. I was just blown away by a movie that could do all of this in this day and age. And it goes back to that thing where people constantly say online that there's no original movies anymore, or there's no movies. Everything's just like this studio corporate machine BS. I'm like, watch a movie like this and it'll perhaps change your opinion on it, in my opinion.
And I'd say don't get too caught. Like, I think one thing,
don't get caught up in the surface level plot.
In the plot too. I think a lot of, I've seen some. I mean, obviously, if you don't like the movie, you don't like the movie. That's fine. But sometimes I see some takes on this movie, and I'm like, they're so focused on like the plot stuff.
Yeah, they're so focused. Like, why didn't this happen? Or like the reasoning behind
or like
things.
the construction of like how the things that happen, the events of the story. Like, oh, I've seen that in a movie. I've seen that. I'm like, but that's not like, it's like you said, the implications of what's going on in the film, in the background, the themes. Them are the things that are like very tastefully done in a genre that, like, I think mostly has a lot of garbage. And then when you get tastefully done horror films like this that have a lot of thought in them, there's tons of good thoughtful horror films. But like, when I see one, it blows me away when I see this genre really get get the due justice of like really good themes, really good characters, very good acting, the whole gambit of good stuff. And so, yeah,
I do want to, before we move on to some picks to pair this up with, I do want to address Josie's thing about this idea of like, what if you made a wish that said cure all diseases? Like, what if you made a wish that was unselfish?
Yeah.
Like, and like, what is, and then she says here, what it really would, for instance, depending on what one considers to be a quote unquote disease. And it's like, so we're just curing a common cold. We're curing.
Are we talking about just,
are
we talking about mental diseases? We talking about
like mental disease? Are we talking about disabilities? Is that considered a disease? Are we talking about just cancer or things like that?
I think it's important. We realize that it's important, the wording of how you say what it is. You need to be very concise about your wish. And
because the thing will take it literally.
Yeah. And so it probably means that whatever your wish is, it needs to be almost, in a sense, small. It needs to be something that can be put in a box, that can't be
money.
that can't be taken for something else. You get what I'm saying? Like, like you said, money. I want $1 billion. Well, that's exactly what you get. And the repercussions come from how you spend that money.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, kind of what they're saying. Like, what would be the negative consequences of wishing for like world peace, or wishing for like at the end to all wars? Like, what would be like would there be negative consequences on that? I know that's a much larger perspective, much larger scale than just like, hey, I want this person to love me more than anything. That's a very small scale thing that can have larger complications for you. But I feel like on a global scale, even good things could, could have negative consequences. I mean, we're going to transition into here, but that's kind of how the One Ring in Lord of the Rings works.
Sure, yeah.
Because the entity in and of itself, like, you could take it and use it for good, but through you, it will probably corrupt you. Basically, what Gandalf says in Fellowship of the Ring when Frodo offers him the ring.
And Curry Baker's talked about, like, because obviously everybody wants to know, are there going to be more? Well, he's talked about there is a potential for a sequel, but he's like, I really would love to do a anthology series where the One Wish Willow is used in different scenarios and we get different wishes. So I think that would be great. I would love to see an obsession series, you know.
Yeah, but do you have any movies that would pair up well with this? I grabbed a few just
I grabbed
absentmindedly.
Yeah, the main one that I really like, and it really delves into the themes, is Promising Young Woman.
Good pick.
I thought that this one really hits on the themes of relationships between men and women. You know, that consent stuff, that, you know, toxic relationships, things like that, and about how specifically men, how they look at women.
There's a lot of films like that. I mean, I don't have it in my collection, but I would have chosen if I had to. Midsommar. I see a lot of people pulling out Midsommar as a film that's similar to Obsession. When I think of Obsession, specifically love, I think of Hitchcock's Vertigo. This movie has this obsessive love factor as part of the plot, and shows its kind of self-destructive ways in which that happens. The Jimmy Stewart character in this movie becomes so obsessed with the Kim Novak character in this that he, at one point in the film, he sees a woman that looks just like her and starts having her wear similar style clothing to the original person that he became obsessed with. So he's on a whole other level of obsession. I
pulled It Follows.
Ooh, nice.
You know, a film it's about obviously about relationships as well, but also like making a, you know, in this case, a sexual transmitted like thing of like that it's got like an entity attached to it that will kill you. You know, and making them moral choices when it comes to relationships is in here, and I think
that it's such an anti-sex movie.
It's a caution. It's a caution against.
Abstinence only, or else demons will get you.
After school special for adults.
And of course, we talked about already Get Out. This idea of being in the sunken place and not being in control of your own body, taking a very Twilight Zone aspect to that plot, very sci-fi-ish. That's one I picked out.
I also got this baby here.
Possession. I was thinking of that one too, actually. Or any movie dealing with possession in general. I almost.
And of course, possession's not only about being possessed, but it's a marriage that is, you know,
self-destructing. I was even thinking of a Reanimator a little bit. This idea of this, you know, reanimated bodies, but stylistically or even just vibe-wise, I brought out Hereditary.
For sure. That was the first when I got out of this movie, it was the first movie I thought about because of not just because of the style, but also the impact of how the film was directed, like, and how it did its scares and how I was like, I haven't had this kind of experience in the theater since Hereditary when it came to a horror film.
Yeah, the way in which Hereditary ends and the way in which Obsession ends, like, kind of hit me in a similar way. Like, I'm just blown away by the absolute boldness that the directors took with the ending of these movies. So I picked up Hereditary because this movie does have a very Ari Aster vibe to it.
He's a fan. He's a big fan. I think Curry Baker's a big fan of Ari Aster. But
do you have anything else? Because I got one more.
No, that's all I got.
And even stylistically, and also kind of dealing with that whole, you know, even this entity thing or magic via an object. I was thinking of weapons.
Sure,
because I mean,
we're getting a lot of what we would consider folk horror in this time right now.
Very
a lot of
folky,
where there's either an entity or an item, or that's something that I think we're getting a lot, which is great. I think folk horror getting a kind of especially American folk horror. You get a lot of around the world folk horror, but America is not as steeped in it as other cultures. So I like it. So But yeah, that's our kind of in depth as we could go for one time watching the movie. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah,
In depth
hopefully Obsession gets a nice physical media release.
I believe it's already been announced.
I think it has. It's what I was actually going to go look at. So Obsession, what year are we in now?
2026.
Yeah. So yeah, it's coming out July 20. It's July 14th. Okay. We're getting a 4K UHD from Universal Studios.
Awesome. I will be picking that up quickly.
Something I buy day one.
Yeah, I know. But that's it for our in-depth. There's a little bit of a non-spoiler before we talk about this. So if you're just going, just hearing us at the end here, you can go back and go here at the beginning, us talk about it without spoilers. But that's that and some recommendations. And that's it for this Unwatched pile. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. And of course you go subscribe to the channel and go to any of your audio platforms that you follow and follow us there. Leave us a rating, a review. That would be fantastic. We'd like to hear from you. And that's it. Get out of here. Go home. Watch movies. See ya.